Well, spring has officially sprung. And although I absolutely love seeing all the flowers bloom, the pollen really gets to me. Sometimes I just want to smell the roses, but I can't because I'm stuffed up. Luckily, I started using Deep Cozy, and it's amazing. It's a nasal irrigation system for people like you and me who just want to love the spring, but our allergies make it so hard. Deep Cozy has a electronic and squeeze bottle option. I've been using it about once a week, and it's so nice to go outside and take a nice deep breath without being stuffy. We partnered with them to give our listeners 15% off at checkout. So head over to deepcozy.com, use promo code wifeofcrime1. That's DEEPCOZY.com, promo code wifeofcrime1 at checkout. If you're uncertain whether this product is for you, consult a doctor or professional. Be sure to follow the instructions very carefully for proper use. Contact Deep Cozy customer service team through the Deep Cozy website with any questions.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So, Russ, in part 1, I told you all about the evolution of Reverend Jim Jones and his church, the People's Temple. His transformation into a cult leader was insidious, but at this point, there is no denying it. He would lead over 1,000 of his followers into the jungle to build a socialist utopia. But little did they know this was the beginning of the end. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband, Russ, true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, folks? It's your boy Russ, a.k.a. Mr. Part 2, a.k.a. Stop Leading Me On. You know what Stop Leading Me On is from? The Program. Anybody watch The Program? It's a good movie, a football movie.
So we're back for part 2 of Jonestown. Reverend Jim Jones.
Not from Dipset.
Not from Dipset.
Even though I love Dipset.
Yeah, he's not the rapper Jim Jones. He just shares his name. But this is Reverend Jim Jones. Wears sunglasses inside.
Don't be that guy, folks.
He was that guy.
You know, some of you probably met your husbands wearing glasses inside.
And out and at night.
Yeah, don't be that person. When I was young, I may have wore sunglasses that makes you think that you look cool. You're trying to find yourself.
I wear my sunglasses at night cause I can.
That's you know, you can, but
he did. Well, his was to hide his drug eyes. So where we left off, we're at the point now where he has told his followers, like, yo, we're done here.
He said, yo, we done here,
said,
son.
like, America is not for us. We need to go. We need to go to another place. We need to build a utopia for us to live in this socialist society that we want to make because America is not down with the cause. And that's what he told his people. And his people, they were like, cool, all in, let's go. Me personally, I would have been like, bye.
You know what this reminds me of? Sports fans that root for bad teams.
Really?
Like, we're with you no matter what. Like, I'm a Knicks fan. They suck. Obviously, they're good now, but they suck so bad. Like, Cubs fans, they didn't win for 100 years, but they stay there.
Yeah.
You know, like, it reminds me of
that, like, that devotion. Unwavering
devotion.
Yeah.
Mets sucked forever. You know what I'm saying.
The devotion to Jim Jones was unwavering. And, you know, like we said at the end of last episode, you tend to you don't understand their position, the people who followed him.
Or sympathize with them.
You don't really sympathize
because you
with
chose
them.
to be there, except the children. Now, if you're a child and you're forced there and you have to deal with all this, I feel for you because you didn't have a choice. But the parents that chose to be there and they didn't leave, even if they found something they didn't like, that's you, Poppy.
And at this point, he is doing some really disturbing things. You know, if you didn't listen to part 1, go listen to part 1. We talk all about the evolution from his childhood into what he's now become. He's become a full-blown cult leader, a radicalized person, and he's radicalizing other people. And some of the stuff he does behind the scenes is really disturbing. So,
you know what always happens in every single cult?
What?
They always just end up having sex with all of their followers. Every single time. The power of the pussy.
Actually, remember I told you about Heaven's Gate? They didn't believe in that. They castrated themselves.
Wow. So they were all...
You probably don't remember because Heaven's Gate we talked about years ago. You got to go and listen to that episode again, but they castrated themselves. They promoted celibacy. They're one of the cults that was not all about sex at all. So there's a lot of, there's varying degrees of the sexual stuff in cults.
But most of the time, the leaders end up having sex with their followers.
Yeah, that can happen, yeah. In this case, it did.
And, obvious, people want to have a lot of sex with hot people.
Yeah, I guess so.
Didn't we all at one point?
I don't know if I would describe Jim Jones as hot.
No, I'm not. But sometimes power is attractive.
Yeah, no, that's true. And he had power over a lot of people.
He had perceived power because they gave him the power. If no one went to the church, he has no power. So he has nothing.
You're right. He did have perceived power. That's true.
I love when you say I'm right because it's so rare. Good. I'm going to buy a bell. Mr. Right bell. It's coming soon.
A Mr. Right bell?
Yeah, like every time you say I'm right, I'm going to ding a bell.
Okay.
Because...
let's see if you actually get it.
Amazon, bro.
Okay. All right. So now we are in the mid-70s. In 1974, Jim Jones sent some of his followers to rent 3,800 acres of land in Guyana in South America with plans to create an agricultural settlement. The country of Guyana is sandwiched between Venezuela and Suriname on the northern part of South America. It's hot, it's humid, and it's mostly jungle. The country was a former British colony, and the language spoken there is English. He named the settlement after himself, surprise, surprise, calling it Jonestown. The first 50 people, mostly young men, were sent down to start clearing out the jungle. And this was like hard labor. They are down there in the hot, humid jungle, clearing out trees, cutting down trees, pouring kerosene all over to make the trees burn. It's hot and it's hard labor. 3 years later.
They probably thought they were going to a tropical paradise.
Nah, they knew. They knew that they were going there to build a new utopia. So the first 50 people were mostly young men. And like I said, they were sent down to clear the jungle. And this was hard labor. Within 3 years, they had built 60 cottages, huge kitchens, storage areas, laundry facilities, and even a small hospital and 2 schools. So these people, like these first people that went down there, they really made a whole community. That's like a lot of stuff that they cleared out and they built by hand.
And they were going down there to do good in their mind.
Well, in their mind, they were building a utopia.
And how many acres?
Socialist society. 3,800.
That's a lot. I don't know how many acres. Now, if you got to describe it in a New York block, that's where I understand. But it seems like a lot.
Yeah. In the center, there is an open-air pavilion intended to be where they could hold meetings. And the place was actually really great for the 50 residents that lived there at the time. They built all this stuff for themselves. They were living good and they felt good about all the hard work that they just put in over the last 3 years.
As they should. They accomplished a lot.
They did.
And he wasn't there. He didn't go there yet?
He wasn't there yet.
Fucking schlub. You're supposed to, when you're in charge, you're supposed to lead by example. Like when I was managing certain places, I wouldn't be like, hey, just go do this. If something's hard, I'm like, come on, we got this. Like, I'll go with you and take care of this.
Well, that's reasonable, but we're talking about a radical meth head cult leader who thinks he's God. So, of course, he's just going to order people around and expect them to do it. So this was all about to change when it was fully constructed, and Jim Jones decides to move to Jonestown in 1977 with hundreds of followers in tow. They didn't have the resources to support nearly 1,000 residents that he brought with him.
Wow.
And to make things worse,
that's a lot of plane tickets.
They all had their money in a community, like their money was all in a bucket.
But yeah, like, what do you say, 900 people or something?
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know how many plane, if that's even $100 a ticket, that's $90,000, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot. So he brought, 900 people with him, and then eventually it would swell to just over 1,000 people down there. It was ran as a commune, with everyone having a role to play in the day-to-day operations. This included jobs like cooks, teachers, engineers, gardeners, among many other things.
So far, so good.
The intent was that Jonestown was to be a self-sustaining utopia for the People's Temple. As far as demographics go, 65% of Jonestown population was Black, and 45% of those were women and girls. The ages varied, but almost 3/4 of the settlement were under the age of 35. They had mandatory meetings every night with Jim Jones' voice constantly heard over loudspeakers with a never-ending monologue of his so-called teachings. He made people turn in all their medication to him as a means to control them. He's a
warden.
He also collected passports and any other personal documents on arrival and kept them locked away from the residents, so this would ensure that they were trapped there and no one could leave. If they didn't do exactly what he demanded, people would be publicly punished and humiliated at the pavilion. Jim Jones declared every male resident to be gay, forbidding them. He declared they're all gay, and he forbid them from having sex, except he himself would have sex with numerous women. He broke up families, and he had them spy on each other. He controlled who people were allowed to associate with. The camp forced all able-bodied people to participate in hard labor, 6 days a week. One boy was so desperate for a break, he asked his friend to smash his thumb so he wouldn't have to work anymore. Jones controlled all information. Letters were censored, phone calls were scripted, and he would stand next to residents when they would call their loved ones back in the U.S. The family members could hear Jones in the background telling their family members what they can and cannot say on the phone. He also controlled the news, telling everyone that there was race riots happening back home and that the KKK was marching in American cities. He told them that there were concentration camps being set up for Black people and political protesters, and continuously preached that nuclear war was coming.
It's interesting. That's how probably governments controlled their populations at those times, because information wasn't that available. Like, it was only through the media sources, which are controlled. Yeah. Like now, through social media, you know, some of the most influential media sources are just individuals reporting.
Yeah, independent news sources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all these other people are influenced or paid or, they're just going for ratings.
And at this time, like, they're in the middle of the freaking jungle. Like, they don't have phones. They have like one phone that everyone had to share.
And 2 pet monkeys, and who knows?
So, funny story about monkeys, real quick.
Monkeys.
So we're going to go off topic a little bit, but
I love the off topic.
One thing that Jim Jones did for money way in the beginning, before he became like this famous preacher, is that he would sell monkeys door to door.
What? I saw someone trying to give a monkey away on Facebook recently, a little cute monkey, and I thought about it, but then I was like, we have this fat fuck Tyson that's already paying. Imagine him and a monkey in this house.
Well, Jim Jones sold monkeys door to door for $39.99.
That's it?
Yeah. Well, back in the day, that's the equivalent. I think back then,
Probably a couple $100.
Yeah, it was like $250.
I got $250.
And there was actually in one of the documentaries that I watched.
I just love all animals.
In one of the documentaries I watched, one lady said, so her mom bought a monkey from Jim Jones, and the monkey committed suicide.
What?
It hung himself.
Well, these like
and there's a record. No, like the little monkeys.
Oh,
yeah.
like I seen. Yeah, that's the one. Like a spider monkey or something.
Yeah, spider monkeys. Yes, and the lady called Jim Jones and said,
Aww.
"I know." Called Jim Jones and said, "My mom's monkey hung himself. We need another one." And
it's in replace your animal.
It's in one of the documentaries. I was so sad. But anyway, I thought it was really interesting that he sold spider monkeys door to door for $39.99. One other thing that Jim Jones did with the people of Jonestown he would do these drills in the middle of the night. They'd all be asleep, and he would have this like loud alarm go off, and they'd be woken up and all brought to the pavilion, half asleep. And once they were all gathered there, he would give them cups of Kool-Aid or Flavor Aid drink mix, and he told his followers that the drink was poisoned and that they were all going to commit suicide together. And it was a loyalty test. He wanted to see who was willing to drink the Kool-Aid and die for Jim Jones. He practiced this. He practiced this over and over and over. And this was testing their loyalty and desensitizing them to the fear of dying, because after the practice rounds, everyone was still alive.
I'm like, you know who would drink this? D's. These nuts. Like,
so if you weren't going to drink it and you turned out to be disloyal to him,
I would have japped him.
He would punish you.
No, I would have japped him.
Well, this is what he would do. You would go through punishment. So you're stuck in the jungle. He's taken your passport. You're forced to be here now, whether you want to be or not. There's no escaping. You're stuck, right? Now, he's bringing you in the middle of the night over and over and over again to test your loyalty. You're drinking this Kool-Aid. If you don't drink it, you get punished.
It's crazy.
If you do drink it, you're now getting desensitized to the Kool-Aid.
Oh.
So now you're like, oh, well, no, every time we do this, no one's dying for real. This is all fake. This is just him testing us.
And I don't understand him and everyone killing themselves, like what he thought that would do to him, unless he eventually thinks he really is God.
Oh, he does think he's God. He's already there. He already thinks he's God.
Well, I always thought they just try to convince other people, but he convinced himself.
So, I mean, it is a mix. I guess we don't know for sure. He might have been trying to convince everybody he was God, or he might have actually believed it, but he's dead, so we'll never know what he really, really thought, if he really thought he was God or not. So while the people were being controlled by Jones' manipulation inside the camp, outside the camp was surrounded by armed guards who patrolled the jungles around Jonestown. He put these armed guards, because they had tons of weapons, and he put them all in place to patrol the area. The people inside Jonestown believed the guards were supposed to be there to protect the settlement, but people started realizing that they were there to threaten anyone who tried to escape. In the spring of 1978, Congressman Leo Ryan, representative from California's 11th Congressional District, had heard from an old friend named Sam Houston that Sam's 2 grandchildren were being held against their will in the South American country of Guyana in a settlement called Jonestown. About 4 years before, Sam's son Bob had joined the church with his wife Carol and their kids. Bob became completely disenchanted with the church and told the church's leader, Jim Jones, that he was leaving the congregation. A day after announcing that he was leaving the church, Bob, who worked for the railroad, was found dead near some tracks in San Francisco. The San Francisco Police Department was unable to determine if Bob was murdered or if he died from a railroad accident. Around the time of his death, his wife Carol moved to the People's Temple settlement in Jonestown, Guyana, with their 2 kids. After she arrived, Carol realized that Bob was right all along, and that the People's Temple wasn't what she thought. Carol left, but she was forced to leave behind her 2 children in Jonestown.
Ooh, no.
And you know what? I gotta say, I'm really pissed off at Carol for that.
You cannot leave your children.
So she left her kids in Jonestown.
Fuck
she was
her.
forced to. And since the time she had left, she had been desperately trying to get her children out of there.
I don't give a
but
shit.
She couldn't get her kids out.
What a piece of shit. Give her the Kool-Aid.
So Congressman Ryan was briefed that the conditions at the Jonestown settlement were compared to those of a prison camp. There were also stories of threats of mass suicide among the members. He was also briefed about the People's Temple leader, Jim Jones. So after Sam told Congressman Ryan about his missing grandchildren, Ryan put out the word looking to see if there were other people with concerns about the People's Temple. And he started receiving letters from people who had left the People's Temple, as well as relatives of church members who had moved with Jim Jones to Jonestown and hadn't heard from them. An investigation began, and with the evidence they gathered, Ryan felt that there was something to what they were saying. Like he started, hearing all these reports from people who left the church, who once Jim Jones got super crazy, there were a ton of people that left.
That's good.
So, there were thousands. He had thousands of followers until he started with this crazy, punishment shit and started having sex with everybody and doing all that. And then
it always leads to sex with everyone.
But then a bunch of people left and decided that this church, obviously was a cult. So Congressman Ryan actually decided to fly to Guyana along with a delegation of 2 staffers, several reporters, and family members of People's Temple who called themselves concerned relatives. So, shout out to this congressman, honestly.
Yeah.
Because he, did this, started asking around. It all stemmed from his friend saying, my grandchildren are stuck there. And then he started asking around and he realized, this is some really sick shit. And he decided to take the media down there, concerned relatives. He took a group.
Well, I'm imagining if that's me, it's my grandchildren or my daughter, especially the grandchildren. Because the grandchildren, if they're kids and your daughter went there, they're there just because they have to be. They don't know any better. And now they're going to end up being weird as fuck if they live, or who knows what's going to happen. I'm pulling up.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up with a motherfucking shotgun, and I'm getting them. I'm getting my family.
Well,
because what's more important than your family? As I got older, all you really got is your family and your health. Everything else is,
secondary.
You need your family, your health, and you need shelter, food, health, family.
And if you're
there's not much more than that.
If you're a spiritual person, whatever you believe in. The intent of the delegation was to see Jonestown for themselves and hear the stories of the People's Temple members firsthand. Along with getting witness accounts, they had another goal: to bring home any people, adults or children, who were being held in Jonestown against their will. They arrived in the capital of Guyana, Georgetown, which is 150 miles from Jonestown, on November 14th, 1978. They attempted to broker a visit to Jonestown through the People's Temple Legal Counsel in Georgetown. When Jim Jones refused to even speak with Congressman Ryan over the radio, Ryan decided it was time to take some real action. Because he's like, all right, I came here, I tried being diplomatic, I brought a group of people here, we want to come see the settlement, we want to make sure everybody's safe. But Jim Jones was like, nah, bro, you're not coming in. And now Congressman Ryan is like, all right, now
we're going to fuck you up.
Yeah, now we got to actually get in there.
You about to get this smoke, you corn.
So, on November 17th...
Show him the smoke.
So on November 17th, Ryan boarded a plane along with the People's Temple legal team, his aide Jackie Spire, Deputy Chief of Mission for the U.S. Embassy Richard Dwyer, a local Ministry of Information officer, 9 reporters, including NBC camera crew. This is all, by the way, we have footage of all of this.
Wow.
Yeah, you can find it all online. And 4 of the concerned relatives. The group flew to an airfield in Port Kituma, a few miles from Jonestown. When they landed, Ryan and his entourage of family members and reporters made their way by truck into Jonestown. A People's Temple member inside the compound named Vernon Gosney slipped a note to one of the reporters from NBC. It's believed that Vernon thought the reporter, Don Harris, was Congressman Ryan. So he didn't realize he was a reporter, but he slipped him a note. And the note said, "Vernon Gosney and Monica Bagby, please help us get out of Jonestown."
Wow.
So now something about People's Temple members from the beginning, they are full. This group is full of snitches, okay? Everyone, even in the good times, would snitch on each other and go straight to Jones.
See, this is why I don't feel bad for them.
Well,
I don't feel bad for snitches, never.
I feel bad for the people who are there now because they didn't realize that once they flew there, they weren't allowed to get out.
Yeah.
He took their passports and their information. So, like, a lot of them that are there, they thought they were going for this utopia. It turns out to be this shithole in the middle of the jungle, and they want to leave, and now he's not letting them leave.
Yeah, but your dumbass flew there anyway. You got to take some accountability.
No, there's definitely some accountability that needs to be taken, but I think that some people firmly, like, believed in him and then had no idea what they were in for, and they were shocked. So someone snitched, and Jim Jones found out about the note, and he was pissed. He refused to let the delegation stay in the compound, so they were forced to go back to the airfield to find somewhere to sleep. Guys, April is Financial Literacy Month. That's right. They made a whole month reminding you to finally take control of your money. The good news is you don't need 30 days. Acorns makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future in just 5 minutes. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. And you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. I don't know about you guys, but I personally can get very intimidated with anything related to investing. I feel like it's a whole world that I don't know much about, but Acorns makes it so easy. And I have to say, like, watching my money grow is really exciting. Sign up now and join over 14 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $25 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advertisers, LLC is an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/wifeofcrime. Have you ever had one of those days where everything just feels off? Like lately, you've been doing everything right, eating healthy, working out, and yet your energy still crashes. Or you get these mood swings completely out of nowhere. Well, I've definitely been there. And something I discovered is that a lot of these issues could be tied to hormonal imbalances. Happy Mammoth is a forward-thinking wellness brand that specializes in creating natural health solutions with a strong focus on gut health and hormone balances. They created a product called Hormone Harmony. This supplement is perfect for women of all ages who struggle with life-disrupting symptoms from PMS, menopause, racing thoughts, low moods, poor sleep, occasional bloating and gas, and even low libido. This product is so popular with women that there is a bottle of Hormone Harmony sold every 24 seconds. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use promo code WIFEOFCRIME1 at checkout. That's happymammoth.com. Use promo code WIFEOFCRIME1 for 15% off today. The following morning around 11 a.m., Congressman Ryan, his aide Jackie, and Richard Dwyer from the embassy went back to the compound with a camera crew and press members. Ryan and his team interviewed members of the People's Temple and learned that there were several people who wanted to leave the compound. It was an emotionally charged day that divided families at the compound. There is a famous scene shown in documentaries about Jonestown where a mother and father fight over whether their child should stay there or leave with Congressman Ryan. At 3 p.m., the group was ordered to leave by Jim Jones. They started to get loaded into a dump truck and go back to the airfield. Along with Ryan's group were 16 people who wanted to leave the compound. 16 defectors from the People's Temple, okay? Before the truck could leave, one of Jones's henchmen attacked Ryan, ripping his shirt and holding a knife to his throat. This is all caught on camera.
See, I would think if you're Ryan and you went there, you're not going there without protection, are you?
Yeah, I don't think that he foresaw that they were going to be this violent.
Wow.
They don't realize that there's this much violence happening, that they're armed. I think they thought, we're going to go there, we're going to negotiate with Jim Jones, we're going to take out the people who don't want to be there, we'll keep it peaceful, everybody will leave, the people who want to stay will stay, and that's it.
See, I wouldn't have thought that. Where I come from, which is the Bronx, like, we're going to go there, and we're going to be like, this is what we want, and if you don't do it, we're going to fuck you up.
Yeah. No, he didn't go in with that type of energy. He went in being diplomatic. One of, Jones's henchmen grabbed a knife, held it to Congressman Ryan's throat, and one of the People's Temple attorneys was able to get the knife away from the congressman's neck and take the knife, the guy who was holding the knife, down to the ground. The man with the knife was cut in the process, but not severely. And in the video from NBC News, you can see blood on the congressman's shirt, and it's led people to believe that he had been wounded, but the blood was actually from the attacker. So they finished loading into the truck and headed for the airfield. When they arrived, they called the U.S. Embassy in Georgetown for an additional airplane because the one they came on was too small to fit the 16 defectors that left the group. During the hours they waited, the group of defectors grew increasingly nervous. One of them, a man named Dale Parker, told some of the congressman's entourage that one of the defectors, Larry, over here, should be searched. He said that Larry was a fanatic when it came to Jim Jones, and he shouldn't be trusted.
You know what? Larry be giving up them booty cheeks.
No one took... you're so stupid,
He
bro.
probably does.
Probably. I mean, I don't know. No one took his warning and believed with good faith that all 16 people that left Jonestown with them were truly afraid of Jones and wanted to leave. Congressman Ryan and the reporters tried their best to calm everybody, but there was no calming them. They knew how unhinged Jim Jones was. Just as the tension was peaking, they spotted the plane coming in for a landing. As they were getting loaded onto the aircraft, they could see something on the edge of the jungle. It was a tractor towing a trailer that had come from the compound. 3 men got out and stood near the tractor. Just then they saw more men jump up from the bottom of the trailer where they had been hiding, and they were holding rifles and shotguns and began opening fire on the evacuees and Ryan's group. People who had already gotten on the plane ducked, and people outside either ran for the jungle or hid behind the wheels of the plane. As the shooters came towards them, they took careful aim and inflicted as much damage as possible with their shotguns and rifles.
Wow.
Congressman Ryan fell to the ground dead. The beginning of the attack was captured on camera for NBC News.
Yeah, because now this is the end of this cult no matter what.
Yeah, that's it.
Because people are going to come for you. It's over.
Yeah, NBC News caught it on camera. And, it ended abruptly when the cameraman was struck with bullets and killed immediately. The footage he captured showed the shooters coming from the trailer, aiming their guns and smoke coming from their barrels as they fired shot after shot at the crowd. Survivors would later describe how the gunman approached and shot them point blank.
Whoa.
How anyone survived was absolutely crazy.
They probably ran fast as they can, and you can't.
Well,
shoot.
some of them got shot and survived.
No, I'm saying even if it's a moving target, like you zigzag and running, trying to get out of, go into the jungle or whatever.
So Jackie Spire, Ryan's aide, was hit 7 times. She was shot 7 times. Gunshots blowing up her leg, shattering her arm, but somehow she survived. And as the gunman got closer, she laid as still as she could and played dead.
Wow. And they obviously thought she was dead because she's probably
7 times she
she's
got
bleeding
shot.
like a motherfucker.
Yeah. After being hit, the NBC News soundman threw his arms over his head and protected it to shield his face from the gunman, and he also laid pretending he was dead. From inside the plane, one of the evacuees, Larry, the one that Dale Parker tried to warn everybody about, he pulled a pistol that he had concealed out of his jacket, and he shot 2 of the defectors, Vernon Gosney and Monica Bagby, the 2 that originally slipped the note to the NBC News anchor. Larry Layton was subdued and disarmed before he could shoot anyone else. So they ended up holding him captive, the ones that survived.
Wow. I wish they would have just killed him, though.
No, they didn't. And this is good. He needs to pay for what he did. Suddenly, about 10 minutes after the attack started, it ended. 5 people lay dead, and 14 were gravely injured. Back at the compound, Jim Jones spoke to his followers. He told his followers that the Guyanese army was going to come to the compound and torture the children and elderly. So now he's just making this up. He was preparing them for the order that the members of People's Temple had practiced over and over. That thing he called the White Night. This time, Jim Jones wasn't running a drill. He had his most devout followers mix a sedative, Valium, with the poison cyanide into a vat of Kool-Aid and prepare it for roughly 1,200 people.
Is it tasteless?
No. The cyanide is a strong flavor, but the Kool-Aid masked it a little bit. But
Probably
it's
like
still
enough, kind of like if you drink in a mixed drink, like it has a little tang to it.
Yeah, like you can still taste it a little bit, but it's not as strong. The Valium was to relax them, and the cyanide would kill them. He announced, "If we can't live in peace, let us die in peace." He told them that the congressman was dead, and the traitors, meaning the members who had defected, were all dead at the airfield. It was now time for all of them to die. Jones referred to it as a revolutionary suicide. He said, "Hurry, my children, hurry. Where's the vat? The vat, the vat. Bring it here so the adults can begin." As he preached to the crowd, all the people started gathering at the pavilion inside the compound. One woman spoke out and said, "Why can't we just make our own individual choice?" Jim Jones didn't have to answer. One of his devout followers told her that no one has an individual life here, that they are alive because of him, meaning Jim Jones, and that if Jones told them that they were all to give their life for him, they will. Jones told the crowd that they had lived their lives, and now it was time to end their agony. Parents voluntarily stepped forward and used cups to give their children some of the drink from the vat.
I'm getting very aggravated.
The smaller children and infants were fed the poison with syringes squirted into their mouths. If parents didn't give it to the children themselves, the children would be taken out of their parents' arms and administered the poison by all of Jones's most loyal members.
This is like a fucking concentration camp at this point.
He literally, like, if you're gripping your baby and you're like, "No, I'm not doing this to my kid," they would just come take your baby away and shove that shit in their mouth.
Yeah, I'm getting pissed off with the children. I'm not even pissed off for the parents. You brought your dumb ass there, but I'm pissed off for the children.
Yeah. One by one, people lined up, took their own cups, and drank the cyanide-laced drink. If they didn't take it themselves or tried to run away, Jones's armed thugs who surrounded the pavilion either shot them with guns or bows and arrows. They also ran them down, tackled them, and injected them with cyanide.
I'm getting
People
upset.
who tried to leave. All the while, Jones was talking into a microphone, encouraging people not to tell their children that what they were drinking was going to kill them. Jones continued his monologue, saying, We committed an act of revolutionary suicide, protesting the conditions of an inhumane world. He tried to convince his followers that it was going to be a painless death and to reassure them that their children were not crying from pain. But he was wrong. They didn't know that cyanide works so much faster than Valium. So they didn't get the sedative effect from the benzo. They instead suffered painful convulsions before they died. Jim Jones died of a gunshot wound to the head. No one knows if he pulled the trigger himself or not.
He doesn't deserve the quick death.
Oh, he gave himself a quick death after he watched everyone in front of him suffer and die. He gave himself a quick death.
Fucking sunglass in the night ass bitch.
But the coroner who examined his body believed that Jones did kill himself, that it wasn't someone else that shot him. Jones was found under a tarp with his nurse at his side. 2 of Jones's own sons were not at the compound that day. They were in the Guyanese capital of Georgetown for a basketball game with some other People's Temple members. They believe that their father ordered the mass suicide because he didn't want to die on his own. The people at the tournament were told via radio transmission to participate in the White Night, but Jim Jr. and Stephen did not do it. One loyal member, however, did. Right there at the basketball game, she slit the throats of her 3 children.
What?
And then killed herself.
I'm getting really annoyed now.
In all, 918 human beings died on November 18, 1978, after Jim Jones ordered it. 5 at the airfield, 4 in Georgetown at the basketball tournament, and 909 in Jonestown. These numbers included 304 children. Half of those, 304, were under the age of 10. I mean, this is insanity.
I'm very upset. I was breathing very hard.
There was one survivor at the Jonestown settlement. 1 out of 909.
I can't even believe that everyone drank it.
Everyone drank it. Or they were forced
to...
Spit
that shit out?
No, or they were forced to drink it. Or they were tackled and injected with it. Or they were shot with bows and arrows and guns. So there was one survivor at the Jonestown settlement, an elderly woman named Hyacinth. She had hidden herself under the bed after hearing the shootings at the airfield, and she fell asleep. She slept through everyone drinking the Kool-Aid. And when she walked out and she saw what she described as a ghost town, she didn't hear anybody, she didn't see anybody. And then as she walked towards the pavilion, she saw everyone she knew dead.
Wow, she reminds me of me when I'm stressed. I just like go to sleep.
Yeah, literally that's what you do. Every time you're stressed, you go to sleep. So she said, "Oh God, they came and they killed them all. And I'm the only one alive. Why didn't they take me too?"
Oh my God, so she wanted to go to...
She wanted to be with her people. Hyacinth was alone in the camp with the bodies until the following day, November 19th, when the Guyanese authorities arrived. A suicide note was found that is believed to have been written by an English teacher named Richard Trope. It reads, I'm going to read part of it, quote, "Please try to understand. Look at all. Look at all in perspective. Look at Jonestown. See what we've tried to do. This was a monument to life, to the renewal of the human spirit, broken by capitalism, by a system of exploitation and injustice. Look at all that was built by these people. We did not want this kind of ending. We wanted to live, to shine, to bring light to a world that is dying for a little bit of love. To those left behind of our loved ones, many of whom will not understand, who never knew this truth, grieve not. We are grateful for this opportunity to bear witness, a bitter witness. History has chosen our destiny in spite of our own desire to forge our own. We were at a cross purpose with history, but we are calm in this hour of our collective leave-taking. As I write these words, people are silently amassed, taking a quick potion, inducing sleep and relief." So that just gives you an idea of the people who were really loyal to him, who weren't trying to leave. That's where their heads were at this time. So I'm going to play audio because the actual last moments of the Jonestown massacre are on audio.
Wow.
So
who recorded them?
He had it recording.
Wow.
So they found the recording later when they went back to collect all the bodies, because I will tell you about it all, but they end up collecting all the bodies.
Well, that's crazy, because if this was going on today, there would have been video.
Yeah.
But you know what? It probably couldn't go on today because people would have been posting on social media and shit, and they would have been like...
I mean, there's definitely cults going
down.
on today, but I don't know if it would be like this.
I feel like it's mostly just people growing vegetables with underarm hair having orgies. That's what I think's going on.
Well, I'm gonna play a clip of, it's called the Jonestown death tape. Definitely trigger warning. It's not necessarily violent. It's him speaking to them, and it's a very eerie clip because it has this music playing in the background, and you hear them in the background, like you hear them talking amongst themselves. You hear him preaching. You hear the noise of the people in the background, and then all of a sudden, everything just falls silent, and all you hear is that music continue to play.
Did everyone know that they were drinking something to die, or?
Well, they didn't know for sure because
he's been prepping them with
He's
that.
been prepping them by saying, we're going to do this, and then they would be alive. But some of them did know, and some of them were kids, and some of them tried to leave and ended up getting killed.
Fuck. This might be tough. Like, I don't know, just listen at your viewer discretion or listener discretion.
Advised, yes.
With that, with the green tea in, please. Bring it here so the adults can begin. Beg you, don't fail to follow my advice. You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry. That we do it than that they do it. Must trust you. You have to step across. We used to think this world's not our home. Well, it sure isn't. As we were saying, it sure wasn't. He doesn't want to tell me. All he's doing, if they will tell them, assure these children. Some people assure these children of the relaxation of stepping over to the next plane. We've set an example for others. We've set 1,000 people who say we don't like the way the world is. You stop. Take our life from us. We laid it down. We got tired. We didn't commit suicide. We committed an act of revolutionary suicide, protesting the conditions of an inhumane world.
So that's incredibly just eerie and creepy and horrible.
Terrible.
At the airfield, the surviving victims lived through the night until a plane came the following day to rescue them. The only painkiller they had available was a bottle of rum that they got from a local bar. They were shot multiple times, and all they had to ease their pain was a bottle of rum that they shared between them. They're in the middle of the jungle. They were waiting for a plane to come rescue them.
Damn.
They were airlifted to Roosevelt Roads Naval Station in Puerto Rico. Once they were stabilized, they were then flown to Malcolm Grow Medical Center on St. Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. Jackie Spire, the congressman's aide, was moved again to University of Maryland Hospital Shock Trauma's unit. Shock trauma, like the famous shock trauma.
What's famous about it?
Shock trauma is like one of the most famous ERs in the country.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, trauma centers. It's right here in Baltimore.
Oh.
She was moved here because she was shot 7 times and then had to wait an entire night to get medical attention. And we used rum to ease her pain. The press started releasing information as it came out about the horrors that had taken place at the Jonestown compound. In the initial death toll reports, they said that there were only 400 people dead, which is still a lot. I mean, 400 people is crazy.
If it was 50 people, it's a ton.
I know. Journalist Charles Krause was on a helicopter flying over the compound and described seeing what he thought looked like confetti all over the ground because of the colors of the people's clothing. As they got closer, the smell of death was wafted up by the helicopter's rotors. After landing, they walked through Jonestown, taking in the horrific scene and the overwhelming number of bodies scattered all around. As teams got into the compound, they found bodies layered on top of each other, specifically the smaller children, who were found underneath their parents or laying close together, holding hands.
Fuck.
Giant military cargo planes were brought in, and the bodies were bagged, numbered, and loaded onto planes by the military crews. They were flown to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware for identification. It was an overwhelming and gruesome task. Like, imagine being those soldiers tasked with this, bagging these bodies. They've been in the jungle, in the heat. They have to bag these bodies, and then they have to put them on planes and take them to Dover Air Force Base.
How long were they there before they've been bagged up?
I think it was a few days.
Wow. See, I don't know how bodies decompose, but...
You start decomposing as soon as you die. As soon as you take your last breath, your body starts to decompose.
You don't smell immediately.
You don't smell immediately, but within hours, you start to smell.
Wow. I don't feel as bad for the adults because they put themselves there, and everything you do in life has a consequence, whether it's a good or bad consequence, and you put yourself there. The same way I ended up in a fucked up situation because I put myself in it.
But you had an accident.
Doesn't matter. I put myself in it, so I take the accountability for what I did. I wasn't doing something bad to harm anyone.
Yeah.
But I took the risk. In my mind, like, oh, that'll never happen. Worst case scenario, broken bone.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it sucks for the adults.
I mean,
but
do you
the
feel
children part of it enrages me.
Yeah, of course. And it enrages me too.
The adults, you brought your dumb ass over there.
Do you feel bad for the people who came there thinking it was one thing and then decided they wanted to leave, but then were trapped there?
A little bit, but not like the children. Like the same way. I went bike riding. Mm-hmm. It's a good activity. You're healthy. But I put myself in that situation. Like I brought myself there. Mm-hmm. But these people brought themselves. There's a line somewhere. I don't know where it is.
Yeah,
but
there is a line somewhere.
You followed some fucking dumbass that wore sunglasses day and night indoors. So you have to take accountability for all your choices.
And I see that.
I don't like that we're in a victim society. Like, I'm the victim. People like being the victim now. Mm-hmm. No. If you chose to be in a situation and that happened, you made a bad choice. I made a bad choice. I mean, I feel like I do see what you're saying, and I understand. I totally, I kind of, as usual, I kind of go both ways, and like, I totally see what you're saying, and I agree with you. But then I also do still feel bad for them because they were misled. I don't necessarily feel bad for the ones that totally bought into this and drank the Kool-Aid or the Flavor Aid. It wasn't Kool-Aid, it was Bobo Kool-Aid. It was Flavor Aid. Wow, they didn't even have the real packets.
They didn't even have the real packet.
Fucking packets of Kool-Aid were 10 cents at that time.
Yeah. So I do feel bad for the people who wanted to leave Jonestown and were trapped there, and the children. I agree with you about the other ones who were like, nah, I'm going to drink this Kool-Aid and I'm going to die and I'm happy about it. Because they were happy about it. That was the choice they wanted to make.
I don't know how I feel. Every choice you make in life, you brought yourself to that point, whether it's you had good intentions or bad intentions. Mm-hmm. And we live in a society where there's no accountability. Mm-hmm. It's not my fault. Mm-hmm. I need a participation trophy. Doesn't matter if I win, where everybody wins. Like, we need to take accountability for our own actions.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. I agree.
Because you could have good intentions and end up fucked up. Look at me.
Yeah, I know. But it was an accident. In your case, I mean.
I understand, but I put myself in that situation, so I can't blame anyone but me.
Okay. No, I totally see what you're saying on that. I mean, when you think about how overwhelming and gruesome of a task this was, the bodies had been out in the hot and humid air in Guyana for 2 days before being discovered, and several more days before being able to collect 900 people. I mean, it took days for them to do that. So imagine how smelly this was.
The poor pilots that had to drive those flights.
The poor soldiers who had to pack the bodies.
Why did the soldiers have to do it?
They needed somebody to do it, so they called in the military.
The American military?
Yes.
But why?
Who else is going to do it? They wanted to identify them.
Oh.
So take it from me, once you smell the scent of death, like you never forget it. It's always there. It's always in the back of your mind. You never forget that smell. After the bodies arrived at Dover, the contracted funeral home director had to scramble to hire more embalmers to process all these bodies. The smell was so overwhelming that they had to issue gas masks by the military to the embalmers. Due to the body's advanced state of decomposition, the embalmers were unable to use like a regular arterial. So normally they go through your arteries to embalm you. They couldn't do that.
What's embalming? I'm not kidding. I don't know.
When they inject formaldehyde into bodies.
Okay.
That's how they embalm.
And what does formaldehyde do to your body, and why are you embalmed? Because not everyone knows.
So, no, I know. So being embalmed is what preserves the body so that you don't stink and decompose before the funeral.
Is that in your veins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how long does that preserve you?
I don't know how long it preserves you, but it preserves you long enough to where you don't stink. They also, I think they take all your blood out of your body. They embalm you with formaldehyde. I don't know the whole detail of how they prepare a body for a funeral, but the goal is to make you not decompose anymore, to stop the decomposition process and keep you from stinking. So that's what it is. I'm not a mortician and I don't know all the details of what goes on. It preserves the bodies so that they don't completely decompose.
So it's kind of like preservatives in your candy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it keeps
preservatives. It keeps
your
it from
candy
molding.
from getting too hard.
And it keeps food from molding, preservatives. So once embalmed, the bodies were treated with a powdered and gelatinous formaldehyde that and then wrapped in a new sheet and then zipped into a fresh disaster pouch and then labeled with the body tag that it arrived at Dover with. So they pretty much like redid their bodies, put them in new bags to hopefully contain the smell. They were then sealed into metal caskets and moved into a shipping container for storage. Hundreds of the bodies were sent to funeral homes for cremation, and some of them were never claimed. I imagine it was a combination of entire families being wiped out. Like some of these cases, entire families were
Probably
gone.
4 or 5 people. Yeah. Parent, mother, daughter, dad, kids.
As well as some of the People's Temple members who completely cut ties with their families back home, and they didn't even know what happened. A mass grave and memorial were established at Evergreen Cemetery in Oakland, California, and it holds the remains of more than 400 of the Jonestown members. In 2014, 38 boxes of unclaimed cremains were discovered.
Remains or cremains? What is that?
They were cremated. So cremated remains, cremains.
Oh, that's like a remix.
Were discovered at a funeral home in the city of Dover next to the Dover Air Force Base. 9 of the names of the boxes match the names of Jonestown victims. So it's easy to assume that there are more out there, that they buried 400, but there's more remains out there somewhere. A little back history on Leo Ryan, Congressman Ryan. He served in the Navy on submarines from 1943 to 1946. before becoming a teacher and then making his way into politics after hearing President Kennedy's inaugural speech, the famous line when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." He ran and was elected as the mayor of San Francisco, and then in less than a year, he ran and won the seat at the California State Assembly, and he had that seat for 10 years. And he ran and was elected to the House of Representatives, and then he was reelected 3 more times. So people really liked Congressman Ryan. During his tenure as a congressman, he was known for being an activist who wasn't afraid to put his money where his mouth was. He once traveled to Newfoundland and reportedly laid down on the ice to keep seal hunters from clubbing baby seals for their fur. That just shows how good of a dude Congressman Ryan actually was.
He had a good heart.
He really when he went there to rescue those people from Jonestown, I mean, he risked his life and he lost his life for it. After his death, President Reagan awarded Ryan the Congressional Gold Medal. Leo Ryan is the only member of Congress to be killed in the line of duty.
Wow.
He is buried at Golden Gate National Cemetery in San Bruno, California.
Respect, Ryan.
Leo Ryan was survived by 3 daughters, Shannon Jo, Patricia, and Erin. And in a wild twist of fate, his oldest, Shannon Jo, joined the Rajneesh movement in 1981. The Rajneesh were known for taking over a small town in Oregon, and they were a cult.
Jesus Christ. I was thinking because he, was a congressman that actually, didn't
this.
just run his mouth.
Risked his life to save people from a cult.
They should, make sure his family could get, education and,
They might have, but Shannon Jo fell into the cult life.
What an idiot.
So airfield shooting victim Jackie Spire, Congressman Ryan's aide at the time, she's the one that was shot 7 times, not only survived, but she went on to be elected to the California State Senate in 1998. In 2008, she won a special election, placing her in the United States House of Representatives, serving the same district that her old boss served. She was reelected over and over, serving until 2023. And she now holds a seat as a member of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors. So she stayed in politics for the rest of her career. Larry Layton, the loyal People's Temple member who hid the gun and shot those 2 defectors on the plane. Remember him? The other guy warned them about him.
Yeah.
He was the only person ever arrested and prosecuted for the shootings at the airfield. Okay. According to his lawyer, Larry posed as a defector and had the gun hidden on him. And the plan was for him to wait until the plane took off, and then he was going to shoot the pilot, causing the plane to crash.
Whoa.
That was the plan all along. He was never told of the plan to send the additional shooters to the airfield that ended up killing Congressman Ryan. So he thought he was going to be the guy he went on a suicide mission, essentially. He went up there to shoot the pilot and crash the plane. When the tractor showed up and the gunman started shooting, Larry pulled out his gun and shot some of the people aboard the plane before they disarmed him. He was held for 18 months in jail in Jonestown, in Guyana, before he was tried and acquitted of attempted murder. But when he was released by the government of Guyana, he was handed over to the U.S. Marshals, who took him to San Francisco, where he was held and then tried. He was convicted of attempted murder and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. He was paroled in 2002 after serving 18 years, and he lived free until 2016 when he passed away.
Piece of shit.
In December 2024, a South American tour group called Wanderlust Adventures started accepting reservations for a new tour. For $650, you can go to Jonestown and see Jonestown for yourself. The intent of the tour is to provide people with a deeper understanding of the tragedy. Because all the buildings are still there.
Everything is a money grab. Do people live there now?
No, it's just an empty ghost town. Literally ghost town. I mean, all of it is still there. It's all overgrown.
So I might as well buy it then.
The pavilion is still there.
It's probably haunted.
No one's going to buy that.
if anywhere is haunted, that is. I don't believe in ghosts, but if something's haunted, that's it.
So it sounds a little like dark tourism.
Yeah.
But the owner of the tour company said that people visit Ground Zero in New York City and former concentration camps in Poland. It's the intent of Wanderlust's adventures to honor those who were lost at Jonestown and ensure the history is never forgotten or repeated.
I kind of understand what he's saying, but it's also a way to make a living.
Yeah. I mean, he's capitalizing on tragedy. Out in that isolated corner of the Guyanese jungle, Jim Jones led over 900 people to their deaths with words, fear, and the kind of control that only comes when someone is given absolute power. Like his idol Hitler before him, Jones started with promises of justice, unity, and a better world. He fed people's hopes and slowly twisted the plot, leading them into blind obedience. By the time the truth became clear, it was too late. Jonestown is a brutal reminder of what happens when a person is allowed to rule without question. Power unchecked is power that corrupts. And when we forget that, history has a chilling way of repeating itself. And that is the end of the Jonestown Massacre coverage. From me, Jess. I've been literally obsessed with this. And I said literally. And shout out to you on Spotify who hates that I say literally, whoever you are.
Shut your ass
Because
up.
the fact is, for the last two...
Literally shut your ass up.
You can ask Russ, for the last 3 weeks of my life, I have done nothing but listened to Jonestown content, to reading about this guy, to listening to podcasts and audiobooks and watching documentaries. I have been in this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And my script, along with Myrtle helping me, this entire write-up was 23 pages long. And that's the longest one we've ever had.
My script was a lot shorter than yours.
It was. But
it was just in my head.
I was truly fascinated by all of this. I totally deep dived this.
Do you have compassion for people that chose to be there?
I have compassion for the people who realized too late that this was a bad idea. I have compassion for the kids, obviously. I think the people who realized that this was bad before it was too late, the ones who tried to escape, I felt bad for them.
I mean, there were signs.
Oh, there were definitely signs, of course. But when you're in it, bro, when you're in
there's
something...
There's no chance for me to be in it, so that's why I can't...
You can't relate.
say that. I can't because I think everyone is lying.
You do.
All the time.
You're somebody who completely, it takes a lot for you to even trust anybody.
I'm just smart.
Of course you're smart. But on top of being smart, you are someone who doesn't trust anybody.
Well, because you got to prove yourself. You're not given... I'm not just going to be like, oh my God, everyone is just the best until they fuck me.
Yeah.
No, I'm assuming...
You're assuming
that
the
you're
worst.
A liar. Why? First of all, I don't even know why people are talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
You have something you want, even if it's a good time out of...
But that's a very cynical view of the world, that you just assume that every human you come in contact with is trying to get something out of you or lie to you.
Well, they even might
That's very cynical.
Well, they might even want to joke. They might want to laugh.
That's very cynical, Ross.
Well, no, they might want to just occupy and have a conversation. Everyone wants something out of some conversation.
Yeah. But I feel like, I do feel bad for the people who realized it too late and wanted to leave and were killed. They were murdered.
I'm a huge, you need to take accountability for your choices. My choices led me here, and now I'm fucked up. I made the wrong choices. And, I'm not just saying me, but everyone that has ended up in a bad spot, you may have had good intentions, but you made a choice that put you there unless you're a victim.
Well, there's times where people are victims.
Yeah, of
crimes.
If you're on a subway and someone pushes you on the tracks, or there's times where it was nothing you could have done to prevent it.
Yeah.
But people that actively chose to go there and give them their passports. And I don't have the sympathy you have for them. It sucks for them. And I'm like, damn, that was whack.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there were people in his congregation that were like, I'm not fucking going over there.
There were thousands of people who didn't go.
Yeah, like, I'm not going. Are you kidding me? I just go to church.
Yeah, there were thousands of people who didn't go. There were thousands of people who were with him in the beginning and then slowly left once he started getting real wild with everything.
Exactly. Like,
I think what fascinates me so much about him as a cult leader is the slow progression and is the question that I wrestled with the entire time of like, what part of him was genuine and good? Was any of it? Or was it all truly self-serving? Sometimes being a good person is self-serving. In a sense.
It makes people feel good. So, like, I like giving people stuff. I really do. It does make me feel good. Like, I'll give you something.
And I personally, like, I have a little bit of a hero complex in my profession. Like, as a nurse, you just automatically have that part of you. You want to save people. It's just part of the way your brain thinks.
See, but then I always think of, in the words of the great Project Pat.
Mm-hmm. Project Pat.
Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Don't save her.
But you know what? Like, I really feel like in this case, it is a really legitimate question when it comes to him. Was he really good intentioned in the beginning, and then he started seeing these preachers.
He realized he could have sex with.
Now that was later down the line. I'm talking about in the beginning.
But it wasn't. I guarantee he was having sex with people before that, because I guarantee it.
Oh, he probably was.
Yeah, and it's dope because he's the leader.
But I feel like in the way beginning, he's going around to these revivals. He's seeing these charismatic preachers do these healings.
And he's seeing how people look up to them.
And, you know, it all kind of circled back to his childhood when he was trying to fit in with people when he was a kid, when he was trying to, you know, run all these kids in the neighborhood and get them to do all these things with him. But also, I feel like it's a really tough question. Like, I don't know. And I don't know if he had an ounce of good in him or if it was all self-serving the entire time.
I bet in the beginning he was like, oh, I could probably help people. And then he realized what he could do with his power that makes him feel good.
Yeah. And he tasted it. He tasted that power and he was like, it was a drug. It was another drug for him. The power, the meth, and
it reminded me
Quaaludes were all
Nicki
drugs.
Minaj, like, someone point me to the best ass eater.
Please don't. We're not keeping... I can't. I can't believe you said. Anyway, so I found this case fascinating. If you liked this case and find it fascinating as well, definitely listen to Jeff Gwynn's book. Jeff Gwynn is like the man with research, bro. This book was like 70 chapters. I don't even know really. It's probably like 50-something chapters. This book was long, but it was so much more detailed.
Let me say, I ain't gonna listen to it.
I know you're not. You got enough information.
I do
from
need
me.
some good audiobooks. Send me some recommendations. Just send me some good recommendations. My favorite one was The Golden State Killer with Michelle McNamara.
Yeah, that is one of your favorite books.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah,
but it's also scary.
Yeah,
I can't believe there's not a movie on that yet.
I know.
I think about like I'm in the bed, someone just being in the house above me.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, but you know, my name on Call of Duty is Shotgun Poppy.
Yes,
so you come in this house, you gonna learn why they call me that.
You gonna learn today.
Facts, cuz.
Yes, you're gonna give them that smoke. All right, everybody. Well, I've been talking a long time.
That was a long one. I'm surprised you ain't raspy.
I'm not raspy.
Like in the morning when you wake up. Like you sound like...
I sound like Jadakiss?
Nah, now you sound like RFK. You feel like... Do you want some coffee?
Poor guy had like throat cancer or something. Stop. Oh my God. I do not sound like that in the morning.
I mean, you're mad raspy.
Like RFK.
you sound like you've never taken a vaccination in your life.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful week. We will talk to you later. Check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and Facebook at Wife of Crime, the Crime Family, and Patreon at Wife of Crime, the Crime Family. And we will be back with you next week for Start Spreading the News.
Peace out, folks.
Stop.